Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Now That You Mention It podcast with Rol and Jay. I'm Rol.
I'm Jay.
And we'd like to thank you guys for watching our first podcast. We know we made a lot of mistakes. We're trying something new. As you can see here, I'm sitting in front of Mother Earth. Spent a little money, got a green screen so we could project a few graphics. And I thought it was relevant to go ahead and mention Earth Day 2020. I don't know about you, Jay, but as I find myself getting older, I find myself being a little bit more of an environmentalist from the aspect of thinking about future generations and what we're going to do with, how we should take care of our planet. So I thought it would be a good backdrop this week to have the Mother Earth sitting behind me.
Yeah, my foray into saving the planet. I do recycle. I separate plastics and paper that I know are going to go aluminum and stuff like that. We have a lot of trees in our yard, so we try to keep those guys up. But that's about the extent of my Earth Day experience. I'm not the biggest activist in the world, but it's important to a lot of people. I know you have kids and you worry about leaving a cleaner environment for them than what we had. And what's funny about everything that's going on now is that you hear the reports of skies over China, skies over India clearing up.
Right.
The smog going away.
Right.
California too. As people are, sheltering in place, as countries are locking down their people, you're starting to see the ramifications of that on the earth, and you're starting to see clearer skies. And so, you never want to say there's an upside to a pandemic, but if there was an upside to the pandemic, it's just that, hey, we're living a little cleaner than we were a month and a half ago.
Right. Yeah. Giving Mother Earth a little bit of a break. No, I agree. It has definitely altered our lifestyle patterns. We get so caught up in everything day to day, going to work, going to school, going on vacation, consume. And without even a second thought about what we're doing to the environment, what we're doing to the climate. Again, I'm not a big tree hugger. I'm just, but it has become more relevant and important to me as I begin to think about what the world's going to be for my children, my grandchildren. And I don't know if I'll be around for my great grandchildren, but definitely think it's worth trying to do a little bit of something to make a difference. Yeah. But you're right. Well, the fact that we're not in the cars every day like we were before. And, I think people just being a little bit more conscientious about what they're throwing away and how we are treating the earth. It's definitely going to be.
Yeah. And it's definitely more prevalent in the fact that the price of oil has dropped considerably because we're not consuming nowhere near the amount of oil we were consuming 2 months ago.
Right.
To the point where the United States has an overabundance and they're running out of storage.
Right.
The price of a barrel of oil is dropping, you hear reports of it going negative, and that's all a direct impact of what's going on. And, like I said, there's no upside to a pandemic, but if there was a silver lining to this dark cloud, it's that I think that we're giving the earth a breather. And I think that's important. It is, you definitely want the world to be around for, I don't have my kids myself, but I do have, 19 very beautiful and very handsome nieces and nephews that I would like to see be able to, make it into their 50s and 60s and the world still be working for them, but yeah, it's definitely something worth noting and, hey, go Captain Planet. What can I say?
So you mentioned that oil prices dropped, basically bottomed out. So
yeah,
has that done anything to your investment perspective? Have you made any changes to your investment portfolio? Have you done anything
No,
whatsoever? Has it-
I pretty much have decided that I'm going to stand pat with, with everything going on. I'm still working, and that's the good thing. I've been able to still be able to go to the office every day, still be able to pull a paycheck, even though my wife is, stuck here at the house and our income is down by her salary. But, we're comfortable. I read an article just this morning on the amount of Americans that will run out of money in the next 3 months. And, I thank my, lucky stars, and I thank God that every day that I'm still able to go to work, I'm still able to bring a paycheck. And, we haven't had to dip into our savings for anything yet. We don't know how long this is going to go. We don't know how long this is going to last. There's all kinds of talk about opening the economy at the end of this month, opening the economy in the middle of next month. So I haven't really changed my investment strategy. I figure I'll just sit on it long term. I'm not going to panic. That's my thing, is I don't want to panic. What about you?
No, I agree. I haven't done anything either. I've just been keeping an eye on the market. I thought about if a couple of the oil companies dropped enough, I might buy in, but so far it hasn't dropped as what I thought it might.
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot of people trying to buy, take advantage of some uneasiness in the market. And so there's still a lot of investors buying. So it's keeping that price fairly level. I haven't really seen much of a dip. There was a little bit of a pullback, but not much. But I agree. I'm with you. I don't think I'm going to make changes, at least from my philosophy right now. Just continue to monitor day to day and go on. It's funny. You talked about trying to reopen our economy, the cities, businesses. I don't know if you heard today, but Colleyville, I think in our area, is going to be one of the first towns to reopen.
Yeah.
In fact, they're going to allow restaurants to use their outdoor patios.
Really?
Yeah. Now you still have to practice and social distancing. You still have to pay attention to the rules, but yeah, they're going to begin to open up businesses and allow restaurants to use patios if they have them.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard that. Yeah, that's interesting. I spent a lot of time in the restaurant industry. I spent, well over 25 years, working with the family business, transitioning into corporate restaurant management, corporate restaurant training. I'm sorry. And, just in the last couple of years, have I gotten away from it just because of the hours, but, I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to work, how the plan, I get it. They want to start opening restaurants back up, but how are they going to enforce social distancing, 6 foot rules, and, not gathering for big groups? Because part of the joy of going to a restaurant is meeting people. A lot of times, we get together as a family to go to a restaurant to go eat. Special occasions, things like that. And, as well as I do, we're not a small clan,
No.
Just between us brothers, sisters, mom, kids, there's over 30 of us. Right. So when we get in a group, it's enforced. And I'm kind of curious to see how that aspect of it is going to work. How are they going to enforce, hey, you have to stay 6 feet away from other people? But when you have families that don't live together, obviously, we're brothers, but you live in another part of town, and so for us to get together for lunch, you're talking about 2 people coming from 2 different parts of town to get together at a restaurant. I don't know who you've been in contact with. You don't know who I've been in contact with. How is that going to affect the restaurant industry? I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to go.
Yeah, me too, because I wonder, do you still have to have your mask? And so if you have your mask, are you going to be wearing your mask, ordering with your mask on, trying to feed yourself underneath your mask?
I can tell you from experience, just from at work, we have to wear a mask whenever a client comes into the office.
Right.
So just being under that mask for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long we have to deal with that client, man, it gets hot.
Right.
Your face gets hot. You're like, man, and I seriously cannot wait for that client to leave so I can take my mask off.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't imagine having to go to a restaurant and a server having to wear a mask to serve you. You having to wear a mask at the table. I really am curious to see how that would go. And hey, the Collie bill, it might be a good experiment just to see how it actually works. And I think a lot of big cities might just let a lot of the little towns have at it first to see how it goes. And if there's a small outbreak in Colleyville, and you can start to see trends that aren't good, maybe Dallas pulls back, maybe Fort Worth pulls back. I know that there was talk today that Tarrant County is going to allow bars to start opening back up at the beginning of May.
Right.
So, how do you police that? How do you social distance at a bar?
That's a great question. I think it's going to be touch and go. Obviously, it's going to be everybody try to be on their best behavior, but there's going to be people who completely ignore any rules whatsoever. There's people doing it now.
Yeah.
I go to the grocery store. There's people that I don't know about you, but our local grocery store has reconfigured the aisles so that they're one way each direction. So that
I've seen that. Our stores have done that too.
They don't even pay attention. They just come back and they just do whatever they're going to do. They don't care that they're right up on you. They don't care that they're right next to you. Nothing. So it'll be interesting to see. Pardon me. Do you worry that we're coming back a little bit too soon?
You have both sides of this debate. You have the people who want to open up the economy, who want to go back to work. And, the fear is that the longer that we have to shelter at home, the longer that the, stores close, the economy's not going to rebound. And I get that. But on the other side, because of the whole health aspect, my wife has asthma. She has breathing problems. So yeah, it does worry me that, hey, things are going to open back up. If her salon opens back up and she's got, going to start going back to work, how is that going to work? Because she does hair. There's no way for her to social distance from, somebody she's got to do their hair and, wash their hair and things like that. It just, I don't see how that would work. And it does make me nervous for her, say, hey, how is this going to happen? But it's got to happen at some point. We're not as a country equipped as other countries. I see people talking about, in this country, they're going to give all their people, a paid month of this and that. But the difference is when you have a country that's 15, 20 million people versus a country that's 365 million people, it's hard to be able to say, hey, we're going to give every one of our citizens $2,000 a week. I don't see how that would work.
No, I agree. And I do think that keeping the businesses closed in its current format will be catastrophic on our economy. We will lose a lot of business owners. And I think it's a justifiable concern to try and understand what are some best practices that we can do to keep, keep them afloat. That being said, I also worry too about the health ramifications, because I think we can be lulled into a false sense of, hey, everything's behind us.
Yeah.
People will all of a sudden become more and more lax on their health practices, kind of go back to the normal, the way it was before.
Yeah.
And again, start to pick up bad habits. Just one of the things that always used to disturb me is whenever I would go to the real estate conventions, you always go to the men's room at some point you just got to go. It always appalled me how many professional guys out there do not wash their hands after going to the restaurant.
Man, you know what? I'll tell you what, that working in the restaurant industry, that always disturbed me. The number of people that would go into a restroom in a restaurant and not wash their hands, you know?
Yeah.
It blew my mind to see in a restaurant environment, to be in a restroom, you know, you're, like you said, throughout the day, you have to go at some point. But as a restaurant professional, job one, when I get done with the restroom, is wash your hands before you leave the restroom.
Right.
Right. To see people walk in, use the restroom, and then walk right back out without washing your hands. And I'm like, dude, you're about to eat.
They don't even
stick stuff in your mouth.
They don't even pause to think about washing their hands. They do their business and they're right back out the door.
Yeah.
And you know, I just sometimes, and unfortunately I've seen people that I know in the industry doing it. And I think I got in the habit of always taking a little bit of hand sanitizer with me to these conventions. And you know, usually at some of the booths, they'll give it away anyway. Yeah. But anytime I shake anybody's hand, I sanitize, because I'm like, you don't know if that guy.
Man, well, I'll tell you what, nobody's giving away sanitizer now.
Huh?
Nobody's giving away sanitizer now. That stuff's like liquid gold.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's one of the local restaurants that we try to support, opened up a small grocery store to help bring in additional revenue.
I think that's cool how a lot of restaurants are doing that.
Right.
I've seen a lot of restaurants transition from being a restaurant to, hey, come get milk, eggs, you know, meat, bread here. Yeah. And it just goes to show you that for every person that's going to take this line down, there's going to be another person who's going to come up with another way to innovate.
Absolutely.
To say, hey, you know what? Right. I can't close my doors. I have a family to support. I got to figure something out. Hey, let me just sell milk, eggs, bread. You know, let me just become the grocery store, because people are going to the grocery store and there's nothing on the shelves.
Right.
You know? And so now you can go to restaurant A and go get some stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
But he was, one of the products that he was selling was hand sanitizer that a local brewery had switched over and started making hand sanitizer in their distillery. And, you know, it was a good sized bottle, but I mean, it was 40 something bucks.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, the good sized bottle, and I understand the circumstances, you know, the market conditions are what they are. It's hard to get traditional hand sanitizer. So it's a creative reuse of a manufacturing process, and it provides us with a much needed product. But when he said how much the price was, his other message was, now folks, don't all rush in here and buy them, you know, buy them all. Try to just buy what you need. And I thought, who in the hell is going to come and buy your big old supply at $40 a bottle?
I know it, but you know, it is what it is. People need it and people are scared, and I get it. You know, I work in an office to where we have to deal with clients. And so clients come in, one of the first things they ask is, do you have any hand sanitizer?
Right.
You know, and at the beginning of this, I didn't foresee this, but I always like to keep a supply of stuff for my office, paper towels, Lysol spray and everything. And, you know, with us just coming out of the winter, I had stocked up on tissue. I had stocked up on hand sanitizer, bottles of Lysol, and things like that, because going into the flu season, I don't want my people to get sick.
Right.
My employees. So I like to have that stuff on hand so that they can have it. Well, man, we started out this thing. I had 6 bottles of sanitizer, hand sanitizer, you know, not the big ones, but the little pump size.
Sure.
We're down to like half a bottle.
Yeah.
And supposedly, you know, the company I work for had made a deal with one of the breweries, and we're supposed to start receiving half-gallon bottles of sanitizer for us to refill our bottles with for our customers. So, you know, who would have thought that in this day and age, hand sanitizer would be worth more than oil? A gallon of hand sanitizer costs more than a gallon of gas. Who would have thought it?
Hey, man, Crazy times that we're living in. Crazy times. Well, and I get it too that a lot of people were unprepared. I think I don't know if you saw, but I've been reading more and more articles. They seem to think that the coronavirus was actually in the United States sometime in December.
Yeah, I saw an article today that they think that the first death happened actually weeks before they originally thought.
Right, in January. I think somewhere in California, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. That obviously we were caught with completely off guard, and we're still playing catch up. We're still playing catch up today, and it's just, it's a little obviously still scary. I do feel day by day more confident. I think we're beginning to replenish certain inventories, but I think too, I still get worried about our rush to just get back to our normal life. I mean, so many of these people that are protesting, I clearly understand what their aggravation is and their frustration. But, the sad truth is, if one of those people gets sick because they were at one of those rallies, what are they going to do? They're going to go right to the hospital, and they're going to want the same services and to be taken care of, and relying on these people. Well, okay. Obviously that's something that would be interesting to track. I think I'm going to try and see if I can find some stories about that, and hopefully it's not fake news, but,
and that's the thing. We're to a point in time where it really is hard to discern what's real, what's not, because you have so many stories out there. You have so many articles out there, and to sit there and have to fact check each one of them to understand whether you want to believe that article or not, it's hard. And, it's hard for us as citizens. You get frustrated. You go, man, do I really want to check this again? And so you kind of have to take everything that you read and hear with a grain of salt, and just kind of move on. There's a couple of really good documentaries on Netflix about pandemics and how countries handle them, and I've been watching a lot more documentaries more than anything over the course of the last couple of weeks, just because I get tired of looking at the news. I get tired of hearing about the news. You start to get tired about coronavirus, So I saw a couple of good documentaries. There's a good documentary. I don't know if you've ever seen it, called Free Solo.
No.
You need to watch that. It's about a guy, Free Solo. It's about a guy who he's a rock climber, and he's one of these free soloing rock climbers. He doesn't use ropes. He doesn't use guides. It's all just him, his shoes, and his hands. That guy's just crazy, man. He really, really is. You need to check that out. But have you been watching? I know that you have. Have you seen or what are your takes on the first two episodes of the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls documentary, The Last Dance?
I'm really into it, man. I think you and I have talked before. I was never really a big Jordan fan, and it's not so much that I didn't appreciate his greatness. I just hated the Chicago Bulls.
I'm right there with you.
Everybody jumping on the bandwagon. I don't think I truly appreciated Jordan until he came back after he took his 18-month hiatus. Those 2 years, Houston won back-to-back, which legitimized Hakeem Olajuwon's legacy in the NBA. Yeah. But it also made me question, would Hakeem would have won those titles had Jordan stayed?
Right.
And could the Bulls have won 8 consecutive? 7 consecutive? Who knows?
It would have been a sight to see. There's a lot of things about that documentary that blew my mind. There's a couple of notes that I got. I particularly like the part where they start flashing back to his college days and when he got drafted, the '84 draft. it was hard to, because, 1984, I was 12 years old,
Right.
you were 14.
Right.
I don't know that we were at that stream of sports consciousness that you get later on in life. But man, the 1984 draft, the first 5 picks, 3 Hall of Famers. You had Akeem going number 1 overall. Of course, you had the infamous Sam Bowie pick.
Yeah.
That I don't think the GM survived that backlash. Then you had Jordan going number 3. And the thing that blew my mind, and not even realizing this until I watched that documentary the other day, was that the Mavericks had the 4th overall pick that year, picking right behind Chicago. And man, as a Dallas fan, we waited so long for a savior for our franchise, and Dirk Nowitzki came along, but it was in the later part of our life,
Sure.
In the early part of our life. Had the Mavs been able to pull something to get Michael Jordan in a 1984 draft and come to Dallas, that would have been spectacular. But we wound up going with Sam Perkins because Jordan was already gone. And then the 5th overall pick right after that, Charles Barkley. How do you pass up on Charles Barkley?
Well, I think it goes back to sometimes you draft for need and not necessarily always the best talent that's on the board. I think that's sometimes why I've come to appreciate Jerry Jones and his crew when as they talk about, you draft. Sometimes you take the best talents on the board, maybe even if it's something you really don't need at the moment. But going back to your point about, being at the age of not really comprehending, even at 14, I was never, even today, I'm not really a huge college fan anyway.
Yeah, me neither.
So I tend not to follow college sports, football more than anything, because that's my favorite sport, and I will watch college football throughout the season. But I almost never follow basketball, baseball.
Right.
I don't follow college sports that much. And so
I think the only time that we followed college basketball, any time that I ever follow college basketball is during the Final Four. And that's just to see how my bracket does.
Yeah.
And I think we had a passing interest back in, 90, 91, 92 with the Duke Blue Devils, just because we had a person from our school that was playing on back-to-back national championships teams, in Thomas Hill.
Yeah.
That was really the only time that we really got excited about.
That's true. Basketball. You're right. When Thomas went to Duke, I did watch college basketball while he was there. But going back to Jordan, I really didn't have the desire to go back and just do a whole lot of research on him. So to see clips from when he played in college and to see just the phenomenal talent he was then. And I also think it was important, the program he went to, the University of North Carolina. I think that helped ground him and prepare him to eventually evolve into, the superstar that he became. But, I learned quite a bit just in the first couple of episodes. I also like the part about when they talk about Scottie Pippen's college career.
Yeah. That was really interesting to see. You started out as a ball boy or a equipment manager,
right?
Before he made the team, and then sprouting up 6 inches over a summer.
Yeah,
and then from there becoming just a superstar in Central Alabama, was it?
Yeah,
or Arkansas.
Yep. It was Central Arkansas, University of Central Arkansas, because they had your buddy Bill Clinton.
Whatever, dude. You're president.
You said you liked him in the last podcast. You admitted you liked Bill Clinton.
We're not going to go there.
It's on record. It's on record. You can't go back.
Prove it.
But yeah, it's interesting. I also have become intrigued with this the GM Jerry Krause.
Oh God, yeah. That's to me, he came off as a total worm. And I know that's all documentaries you kind of have to take with a grain of salt too, because they're going to lean a documentary the way the director wants to lean it.
Right.
And just like anything else, you can make a documentary, say anything you want to say, you know.
Right.
He did come off as a worm to me. I was like, man, this I couldn't, figure out for the life of me what made him so successful doing that. But hey, you got to give the guy credit. He built that team.
Right.
He's the one who brought Phil Jackson in as an assistant coach and kind of groomed him to take over the head coaching job. And, he did put that team together. He's the one who drafted, Scottie Pippen, and he was smart enough.
No, technically he traded for Scottie Pippen. I think they had a deal worked out with Seattle, because I think Seattle technically drafted Scottie Pippen, right? And then he was traded. Is that correct? Yeah,
I think that is right. I think you're right about that.
Yeah. No, but you're right. He assembled the talent. He elevated a coach, and in a lot of ways made some really smart business decisions. I do think he is portrayed a little bit more of a I don't know, scapegoat, if you will. Yeah, villain.
Okay. That's a better word, scapegoat. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll have to see the entire series to really see how it plays out. But certainly in these first two episodes, he comes across as the guy who took the wrecking ball and was getting ready to tear it all apart.
Yeah, there was a line in the documentary where Phil Jackson, talks about going into his office, and the only words spoken to him were, "I don't care how many games you win this year. This is your last year." After coming off a 72 and 10 year and their fifth championship, you just posted the best record the league's ever had. You win your fifth championship, and with a really good chance to win your sixth championship. And that's the attitude going in for the head coach and for the players. Right. I don't care what happens, this is going to get blown up at the end of the year. And that's what, to me, kind of put him in that light of being a weasel,
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's easy to, again, from a retrospective point of view, point and look at what he, I guess the line he was, decisions he was making and calling those into question. But I also think too, he was in a position he needed to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
And sometimes tough decisions are very unpopular.
Oh, yeah.
You want to go ahead.
I was going to say, you see the difference between then and now, just in salaries, one of the things that blew my mind was Scottie Pippen signing a 7-year, $18 million contract.
Yeah.
That's something you would never see in today's NBA. Hell, $18 million is a salary for a mid-level player, let alone a superstar.
Well, but you got to keep everything in context in terms of time. I think the bigger question, and you and I talked about it earlier, was the fact that he signed a 7-year deal.
Yeah.
To have that kind of commitment to one team and to lock yourself in for that long of a time frame for that salary was it was definitely a bad decision on his part.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had special circumstances he was taking into consideration when he did it, but no one today is signing a 7-year deal. No athlete is signing a 7-year deal. I don't care what level of talent you are, because you just never know when you're going to have that one breakout year.
Yeah.
And you want the ability to come back to the market as quickly as possible so that you can hopefully reset your salary, let the market continue to increase and reset your value. But no, I agree. I felt bad for Scottie.
Yeah.
But the one line that I guess, what's the owner's name? Jerry
Reinsdorf.
Yeah. That said, once the contract was signed, don't come back. Don't come talk to me. I thought that was a little callous, but to his point, hey, you signed the contract. No one made you.
Yeah, it's true. But when you look at Pippen's stats, and I took these notes and I wrote this down.
Yeah.
Second on the team in scoring, second on the team in rebounds, second on the team in minutes played, first in assists, first in steals, and on his own team, sixth in salary.
Right.
122nd in salary in the NBA at the time. And I get it for the NBA. That's a low number, but man, on his own team to be the second best player on that team behind arguably the greatest player of all time and only be sixth in salary, that blew my mind more than anything. Is
incredible. I agree.
Batman and Robin's making, is making less than Alfred the Butler. It's crazy, but that kind of shocked me more than anything. I think in the first two episodes of the documentary. Anyway, I'm sure that there's more to come out. I particularly enjoyed the scenes where they were in France.
Yes.
And being mobbed. You can't even walk down the street. You can't go out to eat. Yeah. And I can only imagine in the United States, I get it. And there's very few athletes that would garner that kind of attention in the world, throughout the world. Michael Jordan was just one of them. An athlete here, let's throw out, Clayton Kershaw or Tom Brady. In the United States, I can see them having that problem. I can't see Tom Brady going to France and people going, "Oh God, look, it's Tom Brady. Let's mug him." No, there's very few athletes in the world that would be able to pull that kind of, appeal throughout the world. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali. There's only a few, and I thought it was awesome to see that aspect of it. To see that, hey, no matter where you go in the world, you're the greatest athlete. And they're talking about it on the ticket. One thing that they talked about for this week was the Dale Hansen countdown. Have you heard that story?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Dale Hansen was so enamored with Michael Jordan as a senior coming out of school, and he'd seen some highlights and thought he was the most incredible player he'd seen. So he used to lead off or end his sportscast every night with a countdown. Michael Jordan comes to play in Dallas in 360 days. Michael Jordan comes to play in Dallas in 280 days, counting down all the days until Michael Jordan actually came and played in Dallas. And he did that every year for that the Bulls came and played in Dallas. And it actually, Michael Jordan actually took notice of it. And, to the point that when he came to play in Dallas, he met with Dale Hansen. He did an interview with Dale Hansen. And Dale Hansen was on the ticket the other day, and he told the story that after he did the interview with Michael Jordan, Hansen's handlers were like, "Well, hey, Dale, we're going to pull your car around. That way you and, Michael Jordan can get out of here." And Michael Jordan's like, "No, let's just go through the front door." And they get swarmed by fans, and, Michael Jordan wanted to meet all the fans. And so they walk up to Dale's car. Michael Jordan gets on his car, the hood of his car, leans up against his windshield and just holds court with the fans, signs autographs, shakes hands. And that was the kind of person Jordan was. And, that's just, it's amazing that you have somebody who is so well liked and so well or so disliked by so many fans. Like you were not a big Jordan fan. I was not a big Jordan fan, just because, you get tired of hearing the Michael Jordan hype. But, our brother, one of the biggest Jordan fans out there.
Oh yeah. And that's
Yeah.
what used to annoy the hell out of me, was that's all he wanted to talk about whenever we talked about basketball was Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. He's got 3 titles. He's got 4 titles. And I think that was probably part of it, was because I always got tired of every time we talked about sports, it was Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan.
But yeah, I mean, that's, but again, there are very few athletes in the world that can garner that kind of attention, positive or negative. But I think it's going to be an interesting rest of the documentary series. I'm kind of anxious to see. In this day and age of instant gratification, when typically a series will drop an entire all the episodes at one time, and you kind of want to binge watch all of it.
Right.
I think it's genius on ESPN's part to just drop the first 2 docs in our series episodes in the series, and then go 1 a week for the next 8 weeks, because it's going to keep people tuned in.
Oh, absolutely. I know I want to watch them.
Yeah.
I also think too that we're going to probably get back to having more content like this, because there are so many good stories to tell. A lot of history that I think a lot of people, especially right now that we don't have current sports going.
Yeah.
Looking back at some of the greatest storylines, some of the greatest athletes, some of the greatest events that we could ever witness in a lifetime, I think it's really cool, particularly because again, in the case of the Jordan scenario, we were still very young teenagers. You were preteen. I was a teenager. And again, I didn't really truly appreciate just what a badass he was.
Then, yeah.
You see a lot of his clips. It's amazing. It is amazing. The playoff series that they had with the Celtics.
Oh yeah, that one where he dropped 63 in a loss.
Yeah, exactly. To hear somebody like Larry Bird basically say he had never seen anybody like that. He has never seen anybody else like that since. And to really hear even Magic Johnson come out and say, we knew he was coming.
Yeah.
We knew he was real, and we knew he was coming.
Yeah.
So,
I enjoy hearing one of my, basketball heroes in Larry Bird say something like that, because, at the time, again, I was not conscious of Larry Bird back then, but I learned to appreciate Larry Bird later on in life, going back and I spent a lot of time, going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, finding clips of Larry Bird, old games, to just watch in awe at that guy. And to hear somebody like that go, Michael Jordan was a bad man, just tells you how bad of a man Michael Jordan was. And you're right. I mean, I didn't appreciate him either back then when I was younger, but later on in life, going back and pulling some clips off YouTube of some of his games and watching him, perform, it's been a joy. And like I said, I'm gonna really enjoy these next 8 episodes, and I can't wait for them to come out.
Yep. No, I agree. It'll be fun to watch. Well, bro, it looks like we're coming up on that 45-minute mark.
Yeah, 45 minutes. Really want to.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, I think after our first podcast, we want to try and keep it somewhere around the 45-minute, 50-minute mark.
I think that's perfect.
Hopefully we can also, it allows us to preserve maybe a few topics for the next podcast. I enjoyed sitting here talking to you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look forward. This is fun, and I'll try and figure out what my next theme is going to be with this little thing back here.
Yeah, your green screen there.
Yeah, my
just
green
as long
screen.
as you don't have Superman standing behind you, I'll be all right. Because
I was
man,
playing around with that earlier.
you talk about how you didn't like it when people used to, oh, Michael Jordan. I get so beat down by Superman. It's just crazy.
Hey, pull me off screen real quick. Just talk for a second. I want to surprise you with one that I want to put on here very soon.
Oh Lord, here we go. All right.
yeah.
So for all the fans that we garnered that we're probably going to lose after this, I apologize. But my big brother, he's got a love of Superman that to me is unexplained. The thing to remember about him is he's not a comic book nerd. I have a couple of brothers who are, but my big brother here has got the fetish for Superman and for Batman, and I don't know if you can really tell it when he comes back on screen, but he's got his Batman shirt on today, and are you ready?
Yeah. Can you bring me back up?
All right. There we go. Hey, no, that's not bad. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Go Ponies.
Yeah, whatever. All right, folks. Well, that's our podcast for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. If you do like what we do, if you'll hit the like and subscribe button down at the bottom. Also, if you have any ideas that you'd like to hear us talk about, any topics, just leave us a comment. We really enjoy doing this for you guys. It's fun for the both of us, and I look forward to the next couple of weeks. I know that we're going to have a couple of guests coming on, particularly to speak about the rest of the Michael Jordan documentaries and maybe some other topics. But we thank you again, and couldn't do this without Jesse P. So thanks, guys, and have a good night.
Until next time, take care.